Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest. First timer on Ron Siegel Radio, lender girl Lauryn Dunn is with us. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you with us. Let me remind you, if you ever have any more finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we are celebrating today. Hey, we like to sell it. Well, wait. We got to back up here because I think that there is an extra celebration that's not on our list here, Josh. We gotta throw this in there. I think we'll just, it's Mitchell's birthday. So we'll give it, he is 30 and we're doing this retro birthday. So going to do the same thing for his 30th birthday as we did for his third birthday. Chuck E. Cheese, here we come on birthday number 30. I'm sure he's really excited about that. But hey, let's move right along. Today's Angel Food Cake. Angel Food Cake Day. That looks pretty good. I don't know about that dish over there on the left, Josh. For those watching us on ronsiegelradio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490, FM 98.1 video feed. Strawberries? That's way too healthy. But it's also National Cake Decorating Day. Okay, we'll go with cake decorating, Angel Food Cake Day. And the one thing that I really, really do well, I do quality control really, really well. So I'll be the one eating those two things. Just throw that out there for you. Hey, let's see what the markets are doing today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down 78 points. S&P 500 is down 3. The NASDAQ is up 22. Oil up $2.19 a barrel. Do we even want to look? Okay, we haven't looked in a few days here. Gasoline in the formerly Golden State, $4.67.
Ow!
$4.67. National average, $3.21. We like taxes here in California, so that's why we have that 28% taxes and fees on a gallon of gasoline here in California. Josh is over there at $3.50 a gallon. Just think about it. He's in the top 10 of the nation. He's at $3.50. And we're at $4.67. Hawaii's even cheaper than we are. Unfortunately, I always look because my tremendous processor, Nicole, she's over there in Florida, and our heart goes out to all the folks in Florida. $3.10 a gallon in Florida. $3.10, and we're paying $4.67. I don't know about this. It's not fun, but there are prices to pay when we live in the formerly Golden State. Unbelievable. But hey, let's move right along, see what else is going on. I did see just before we came on air some breaking news. This this is sad news. Ethel Kennedy died today, 95 years old, I think it said. 95 years old. Now, you know, I don't follow a whole lot of the Kennedy family. They don't have I'm not really tied in to them politically. I'm sorry, 96, I lied. But I've got a question for you because I am a traditionalist. So let me ask this question, because my dad died 10 years ago. My mom died 6 years ago. They still get ballots to vote. You know, this is California, so everybody gets a ballot to vote. You don't have to be alive. That's, you know, they don't check IDs. You don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to be alive. But I wonder if Ethel Kennedy already voted. Just curious. I just throw that out there for you to see. You know, it amazes me when I look at the Constitution and it says that we vote, and I think the way it's written is the second Tuesday of November. When the founding fathers were writing the Constitution, they didn't have internet, they didn't have spell check, they didn't have automobiles, they didn't have planes, they didn't have trains, they had horses, and they could get there to vote on the appropriate day. Now we've got planes, trains, boats, automobiles, and everything else. And voting, I mean, I got my ballots here in Southern California. I got them the first of the week. You got to wonder, what's the purpose of voting 6 weeks in advance or 5 weeks in advance? Is it time for more cheating? I wouldn't say there's cheating going on, but I think there's cheating going on. But I'm just throwing that out there. Why do we need that? And the other part of it is voter IDs. And I know California, we want to make it easy for people to cheat. That's the idea here. But my question is, why can't we have voter IDs? Now, my grandson, he's got a little bit of a cold. Going to go to the store and get a decongestant. Got to show an ID at the pharmacy to get anything that works. We're going to take Mitchell to Chuck E. Cheese today. You know, if I want to get, I don't know. I haven't been there since he's 3. Josh, do they have beer and wine at Chuck E? No? Okay, so I guess we don't need to have an ID for that part. But I think the last time I was there, you had to have IDs because they wanted to make sure the parents went out with the right kids, something along those lines. But, you know, if we want to go and take him for a drink tonight, got to show an ID. And, you know, something, everybody's able to show IDs. It's not a hindrance. Yet for voting, it becomes that we're trying to stop people from their right to vote. Can somebody please explain that to me? If you can, put it in the chat for me, please. I guess we should have put a question of the day in there too, Josh, right? Would you rather decorate the cake or eat the cake? Throw that can we, Josh, if you can put that one in, that would be a good one. Jim, tell me which one you think. Decorate the cake or eat the cake? Which is your preference? We'll run a poll on that today. We're going to have a great broadcast today. One of my favorites, as you know, is I am very, very passionate about helping our military men and women. Could you imagine me doing that monologue that I just did this morning if I was in Russia or China or Cuba? No. It's because of the great men and women of our military that we have the First Amendment. Well, I guess the Second Amendment helps us have the First Amendment, but it's the great men and women of the military that do that. And we have got an expert on the broadcast today when it comes to helping the men and women of the military get a home. And I don't know, because we don't preset all these things up. I bet she's going to tell us it's cheaper for the men and women of the military to own the home and get into the home than it is for their lease. But we'll talk to her about that. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, what does it cost to sell a house? We'll talk about that as well. You can reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
As the economy slows, do you know anyone worried about job loss? At Siegel Lending Team, we offer the Home Select Loan. Think of it as a financial superhero cape for homeowners with good income and credit. It not only saves your home, but also throws a life ring to your credit score. Because who needs stress when you can have peace of mind? Let's secure your future with a smile. Visit rsrhomeselect.com. rsrhomeselect.com. NMLS 217037.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They do not tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They tell us the number you need to put into your mortgage calculator to find out your principal and interest payment. Don't have a mortgage calculator? Get our mobile app. It's free. RonIsMyLender.com. What did the rates do yesterday? Conventional 30-year fixed rates up 6.419. Jumbo 30-year fixed rates, they were down yesterday 6.642. 30-year FHA fixed rate 6.12. That was up. VA 30-year fixed, that was up 5.88. USDA 30-year fixed 6.122. If you want our thoughts about the market every weekday or business day morning, as early as the data allows, you can go to rsrlinks.com/market minute, rsrlinks.com/market minute. It's free to you. We just put out a short, I don't know, it's like 900 or 1,000 words, just trying to recapping what the markets are looking at. And we send that out again each weekday morning. It's on our social channels as well. If you don't like email, if you are registered for it and you don't get it, yeah, I do a little radio in the morning. I do a little lending in the afternoon. So the bureaus think that, in fact, we're having trouble right now with one of them, that they don't want to send SMS text messages out for some goofy reason because, I don't know, I guess a mortgage is a high-risk loan is what they're telling us. Let's see what the markets are doing today as we speak. Let's see. We start each day with the Dow Jones Industrial Hours. The S&P 500. Flat right now, 0.37. It's up 0.37. Really doesn't mean anything when it's not up, when it's only up at 0.37. That's really, it's saying it's doing absolutely nothing. We expected a little different today because we've been waiting all week for the data. And yeah, we didn't get a whole heck of a lot of data that's moving the markets, as you can see, because we've got the 10-year Treasury, and I don't know why my board is moving very, very slow today. It must be like me getting a little old and ready for the weekend. Maybe that's what it's all about. So let's take a look and see the 10-year Treasury. That's up about 1 basis point right now. We've got the mortgage-backed securities. If my screen would update, it would really help me. But I wonder why it's going slow today. Maybe it's because it knows that we're going to go out for Mitchell's birthday and it doesn't want to deal on anything. 10-year Treasuries up 1 basis point, and the mortgage-backed securities are up 10 basis points finally. Now remember, when we talk about the 10-year Treasury, we're talking about the yield. And I don't know why they do this, but whenever they talk about it, they put the yield out there on the 10-year Treasury, but they put the bond price out on mortgage-backed securities. I guess I do know why, but it's just to confuse you. When the bond goes up, rates go down. Bond's up right now 10 basis points, so rates are down just a little bit. What's driving all this? Well, it's the Consumer Price Index this morning. That came out. September Consumer Price Index report showed that overall inflation rose 0.18% for the month, which was rounded to 0.2%, and hotter than estimates of 0.1%. Year-over-year inflation decreased from 2.5% to 2.4%, hotter than the 2.3% expected. Core rate for those that don't need food or energy increased by 0.31%, hotter than the estimates of a 0.2%. Year over year, core CPI increased from 3.2 to 3.3, which was expected to remain at 3.2 or even go down a little bit. If you annualize the last 3 months of headline readings, the year over year inflation rate would be 2.1%, with the 6-month run rate at 1.6%. If you annualize the last 3 months of core readings, the year over year reading would be 3%, with the 6-month run rate of 2.6%. We are seeing progress, although it is slow. Some of the things that caused inflation to rise were transportation costs, rose 1.4% during the month, includes motor vehicle insurance. Yikes. Motor vehicle maintenance and repair, and airline fares, all of which went up. Motor vehicle insurance rose 1.2% last month, which is an acceleration from the previous report. Year over year, motor vehicle insurance decreased from 16.5% increase to 16.3, but still remains elevated. Airline fares rose 3.2%. Motor vehicle maintenance and repair rose 1%. Apparel rose 1.1%, which all worked against us. Shelter cost makes up 45.8% of the core index, rose 0.22% last month and 4.85% year over year, which is a decrease from 5.2. The monthly reading was encouraging, easy for me to say, as it may be the first sign of shelter catching up. Will make it much easier to make progress on inflation going forward. Rents rose 0.28%, while owner's equivalent rent, I'm not going to get into what that is, 0.33. Lodging away from home figure declined by 1.93. I don't know why they put that in there. It's so crazy. Initial jobless claims measures individuals filing for unemployment benefits for the very first time, rose 33,000 to 258,000, which was much higher than estimates of 230,000. Highest level of claims since August of 2023. Okay, don't believe the media, because what the media is saying right now is that number is increasing because of Hurricane Helene. Now, let me ask you a very simple question. If a hurricane just came through and devastated your house and your neighborhood and your employing, is the first call you're going to make to go and get on unemployment? Or are you trying to find some place for your family to live? Maybe next week we'll see that the issues come up with the employment going into those numbers. But I don't believe that that's what's driving them right now. The media wants to make those excuses. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Today on this episode of Ron Siegel Radio, we welcome Lauryn Dunn, seasoned loan officer since 2012, military spouse, and dedicated member of the Veteran Lending Council. Lauryn is passionate about helping veterans navigate the mortgage process and advocating for their housing needs. She'll discuss how the real estate and lending industries can better service veterans through VA loans and memberships in the Veteran Mortgage Advisor, VMA, and Veteran Housing Advisor programs. Welcome, Lauryn. Glad to have you with us.
Thanks, Ron. Glad to be here.
I didn't realize that until I read some of your stuff this morning. How did we put it in there? A military spouse.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. The spouses, sometimes from some of the times I've talked to military men and women, sometimes I think the active duty individual is out there working hard, and the spouse has got a lot of the stress going on, not knowing what's going on. Did you find that?
I'm a newer military spouse of about a year, so I can't take too much credit. My husband's been able to be here the whole time, but I have seen that with a lot of my clients who are active duty, and we're working with the spouses back home when they're purchasing a home. And the stuff that they go through is something that's very hard to relate to if you haven't done it yourself.
And that's one of the things that people like me who are big advocates for the military men and women, we can talk all we want about, being appreciative, but if you haven't walked in their shoes, and I know so many of them, so I can speak from some semblance, is, we have no clue. We're clueless.
Yeah.
We can say that we understand, but we don't. So, all we can do is be very, very thankful. So
Absolutely.
why are the VA loans so important to you? Obviously, your spouse is is a veteran, but give us an idea there.
Well, it's kind of twofold. I have the industry side and what I've seen in the industry, and then a little bit of the personal side. So yes, my husband's been in the Guard for 12 years. He did 10 years of full time and some deployments, and then doing drills now. My father served in the Navy Seabees back in the day, and my brother served. I have uncles and cousins, so it's kind of all around the family. And so I've been able to see, what amazing men and women the military has shaped them into being. And then I see some of the horror stories in the industry and kind of the way that our veterans and service members are underserved in the industry. And it's like you take these amazing people that have done and sacrificed so much, and then you leave them without a home a week before closing, for instance, if some of the lenders out there don't know what they're doing. And so kind of a twofold, seeing both of those things happen at once is makes me very passionate, not just about doing the best loans that I do, but also about educating the industries. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about that today.
It fascinates me because from my conversations, the men and women of the military, when they're getting ready for discharge, there's so much, and they're really not focused on all these benefits that are out there.
Correct.
And so many of them have no clue that they can go and buy a piece of property, and it's going to cost them in many instances less money to buy the property than just to go and find a lease to live in.
Right.
How do you get that word out?
So, it's marketing is tricky sometimes, right? Because there's so many different avenues for it. And, as a non-veteran myself, it's like, how do you reach more veterans? And so educating other lenders, educating realtors, and I stay very involved locally and also on social media as well to try to get the word out and try to connect with these people to let them know, like, hey, these are what your benefits are. We teach classes, professional development classes at some of the local Guard units here in one of my markets. And that's a great place to reach service members when they're still in and talk about like eligibility. When are you eligible? Because not everybody who's served is eligible for the VA loan, for instance, and they might not know what those details are. And they might have a false expectation of using their VA loan, and then they can't use it because they didn't meet the time and service requirements. So things like that, just reaching them where they are and being able to explain about those benefits, because you're absolutely right that when they're discharging, or even sometimes when they're still in the service, that's listening to some, talks about that is the furthest thing from their mind at the moment.
Yeah, it's amazing how they don't get the information they need because they're focused on, well, quite frankly, they're focused on staying alive in many instances, right? So when we come back, I want to continue our conversation. Educating others, does it matter which lender you use for a VA loan? Isn't a loan a loan? We're going to talk about that. And we'll also talk about what is the cost to sell a property, all that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That's my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio, or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, the real-time real estate segment today, being brought to you by rsrmoney.com. rsrmoney.com. How much does it cost to sell my house? If you're toying with the idea of selling your house, you're probably wondering how much it will cost. To be honest, the final number will depend on several factors like the offer you accept, if you help with your buyer's closing costs, how many repairs you tackle, and more. So to give you a ballpark of what to expect, here's some information on a few of the expenses you want to be ready for. If you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials at ABC News and Talk, AM 1490, FM 98.1 video feeds, you are seeing a chart, typical costs of selling a home in the U.S. in 2024. Listing agent. Now remember, these are all based on national numbers. We are in Southern California. Our numbers here right now are probably higher than these, but this gives you an idea. Listing agent commission, $11,000. Buyer's agent commission, $10,000. Repairs, $10,000. Closing costs, $8,000. Buyer concessions, got to understand those for sure, $7,200. Moving costs, $3,200. Marketing, $2,300. Staging, $2,300. Think about that. And you thought that it was just the agent made all that money. But here's something that puts those costs into perspective. Most homeowners today have a substantial amount of equity built up in their homes, and that means they stand to make significant gains when they sell. Chances are you do too. This can help quickly recoup these selling costs. You may even have enough equity left over to put some toward your next home purchase as well. Let's dive into a few of the costs from the graph so you'll have a bit more context on what they include and where you may be able to save money when it makes sense. Closing costs and commissions. These are the fees you'll pay at the closing table to cover various aspects of the sale. You'll have your own closing costs. You may even offer to pay some of the buyers as well. As a U.S. News Real Estate explains, quote, closing costs are fees that are paid to finalize the transaction and transfer ownership of the home to the buyer. Sellers can expect to pay 2 to 4% of the sales price of the home in fees and taxes on top of the agent commission. Based on the national median home sale price, this means that closing costs in 2023 for sellers are ranging from $7,700 to $15,000, unquote. Taxes are going to vary by state, and agent commissions depend on what you agree upon upfront. Keep in mind that the numbers in the chart that we shared are just an example, not exact. Not to mention, if you put money toward things like property taxes, mortgage, escrow, there's a chance you'll get a credit back at closing. Remember, I tell you all the time, and so many people don't want to hear it. Commissions are a tool to help you sell your house for more money. It's not just the way that you're going to pay people. It's an incentive. And if you want to maximize your sales price, well, it's simple. rsrlinks.com/salesmax. rsrlinks.com/salesmax. You can go to Walmart and you may or may not get a great realtor, or you can go to Nordstrom and maybe you'll have a better one. Just throw that out there. Pre-listing inspections and repairs. One optional step some sellers take is having a pre-listing inspection. It gives you an idea of what may pop up later on the buyer's inspection, because those items are items a buyer may ask you to toss in a credit or a concession to cover later on. This allows you to get a jump on any repairs and tackle them before you list, so your house is set up to impress from the start. Again, if you want to skip this step, an agent can help. They'll be able to give you advice on things like paint colors, small cosmetic repairs, and what buyers are looking for, and whether it's worth tackling anything else ahead of time. This will help make sure you're spending money on things that are most likely to net you a good return on your investment. Home staging. As inventory grows, you may want to take a few extra steps to make sure your house stands out. Staging is an optional way to make sure your house shows well. It can include bringing in rental furniture if the house is vacant, or art to warm up the walls, not pictures of your last trip to Hawaii. That doesn't help. Some staging can even be done virtually once the photos are taken. But in general, how much does it cost? According to Bankrate, quote, home sellers typically pay somewhere between $7,800, $2,800 in home staging costs, but the price tag can vary widely, unquote. If you want to skip this step, you could opt to lean on your agent's advice again. Why leaning on an agent is key if you're looking to cut down on your costs. You have options, but be careful of where you're trim. You may be able to skip staging or pre-listing inspection since those are optional, but you don't want to skimp and sell without a pro. An agent is your go-to expert throughout the transaction. They'll offer customized advice every step of the way, including how to stage the house and what appears or what repairs to tackle. This can help you avoid hiring an outside stager or having to pay for a pre-listing inspection. But that's not the only way your agent adds value. They'll also create tailored marketing and pricing strategies that'll highlight the house, the best assets, and any work you did already. Hey, there's a really, really great new real estate firm coming at the end of this month to California. They've been in other states, and they're one of the fastest growing companies in the country. Amazing marketing materials. If you want more information on that, give me a call. Want a better picture of what you should expect your house to sell? Give me a call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And if you want to know what the market looks like in your neighborhood, not the generic number, rsrlinks.com/market report, rsrlinks.com/market report. Our friends over at Altos Research tracks every home for sale every single week throughout the entire country. You just put in your city or zip code and you'll get all that information. That is the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Continuing our conversation this morning, Lauryn Dunn is with us. We are chatting about one of the best loans on the market, one of my favorites, because we can't do what we do if it wasn't for the men and women of the military. We honor them every single day on Ron Siegel Radio. And Lauryn is an expert not only in doing the loans, but in educating the community about, this type of a loan, the community of borrowers, as well as the community of lenders. So she's taking on a big task there. And Lauryn, I want to get into that with you. Is, what's the big deal? I mean, there's 600,000 loan officers in the country. Can't they all do a VA loan?
They can.
Could they do it right?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Some of the things we talk about is all lenders are authorized or approved to do VA loans. And you have amazing lenders out there who close a ton of business, are really, really good at their job, but just don't know VA. And that can create some big problems in the industry.
So one of them, and I'm going to say it, I don't want you to, there is a big VA lender out there that I understand that members of the Veteran Lending Council end up having to bail out veterans because they get it wrong so often.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the pitfalls that someone should look for?
Well, so when you're choosing a VA lender, you've got your big box lenders and you've got your local lenders, right? And they spend their money on different things, frankly. So how do you know about the big box lenders? Because they're not in your community. They're spending their money on marketing dollars and advertising, right? They're not spending their money, or at least as much as they should be, on training their staff on how to better help veterans, how to get your offers accepted, how to close smooth transactions, and frankly, sometimes how to even close a loan at all.
It's pretty amazing. So one of the big things that I found, and I did go through the process of getting certified as a veteran mortgage advisor, and I learned a tremendous amount. Not nearly as much as those of you that are teaching it. So I have to still listen to all my mentors there. But one of the things I hear is that, from veterans is, well, I already used my eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't do it because I can't buy another house, or I want to save it until I want to buy my forever home. What are your thoughts there?
Right. So that's one of the common VA loan misconceptions that we hear all the time, is that I can only have one VA loan at a time, or I can't use my VA loan multiple times. And both of those are false. So first of all, I won't go too deep into the eligibility dive, but on a kind of a 10,000 foot overview, veterans, you can have more than one VA loan at a time, and you can reuse it over and over again. Your entitlement is kind of like a credit card. So both of those things are true. And we've seen veterans or active duty have to PCS to another duty station and not have time to sell their current home. And so
you got to back up, Lauryn. You got to back up, because many of us are our simple people, what is a PCS?
So PCS, permanent change of station, right?
Gotcha.
So if you have active duty service member at one base and then they suddenly get orders to go to another base, and that's when you see these active duty families up and have their lives uprooted and have to move states sometimes.
Okay, so they can keep can they keep the property that they're departing from? Because you said it's like a credit card. So if the credit card, you pay it off, then you can spend it again. So if they're in 29 Palms and they get a PCS to Virginia, do they have to sell the 29 Palms house to go to Virginia?
They do not. So they can rent it out and keep the VA loan. I've heard lenders say, oh, you have to refinance to conventional first before you buy another house. And now there may be circumstances where they want to do that, but they do not have to do that. And most of the time they won't. So they could keep the house in 29 Palms, rent it out, and then purchase another home in Virginia, also using their VA loans. And now you have 2 VA loans on your eligibility.
So let's look at it the other way around, though, because we have so many people, so much of California is pretty expensive, right? So say you're living in Virginia, now you've got a change of station to Camp Pendleton. Well, those properties are going to be a lot more money. Is there a limit to what you can spend?
It's a great question. And prices in Virginia aren't necessarily inexpensive these days either in certain areas. So when a veteran or active duty has full entitlement, meaning they don't have a home loan at all, so they're buying their first home on a VA, there's no loan limit at all. So you could buy a $3 million house with 0 down, assuming that you qualify for the payment with your income and assets, right? That's on the first house. So now in your example, Ron, if they're keeping the house in Virginia and moving to 29 Palms, there is a loan limit that applies, but it only applies for the 0 down payment. So that calculation changes every year and it's different for everyone. So that's why working with an experienced lender and who knows how to do those calculations, you'll know if you can go in on that second home 0 down or if you'll have a small down payment.
Interesting. Okay, so there's a lot to this. I want to get into what some of the biggest myths are when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. You can reach me anytime off air, number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
79% of all credit reports have errors that should be corrected through factual disputing. You could be saving thousands every year if your report was accurate. CreditSanitizer.com provides a free credit report audit when you furnish a specific $1 credit report. You can use this information to request corrections to your report and potentially save thousands of dollars. Get your free credit audit at CreditSanitizer.com. That's CreditSanitizer.com for a free credit report audit. CreditSanitizer.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. As frequently happens, I speak a lot. So we're going to skip our story today from the Borrow Smart segment. I will tell you, Borrow Smart is brought to you by rsrhomeselect.com, rsrhomeselect.com. Want to get your house paid off in the next 3 to 8 years without making any extra mortgage payments? If you qualify, the Home Select program might be the best product out there for you. Go and check it out, rsrhomeselect.com, rsrhomeselect.com. Continuing our conversation, Lauryn Dunn is with us. She is a guru in the VA home loan process. So, Lauryn, I want to talk about what are some of the myths out there, because, it's easy to say, okay, well, I got a VA loan and I closed and everything went good and well. But the problem is that when it doesn't go, everything go as expected, that's when you need the guru. And what are some of those myths that we need to be on alert for?
That's right. Well, we hit a couple of the big ones earlier, which is that you can have more than one VA loan at a time, and you can use your VA loan more than one time. Some of the other ones I see are, VA loans take longer to close. That can be true if you're working with a lender who doesn't know what they're doing. But for any lender who's taken VA training, especially the Veteran Mortgage Advisor course, and knows kind of those ins and outs and the nuances, that's not the case at all. My team regularly closes VA loans in 20 to 25 days. It's kind of our average. And Ron, I'm sure you're similar. So just that message that we say over and over again of who you work with matters, and why not to use some of those big box lenders.
One of the things that I found most exciting when I went through the course was the whole concept of the appraisal process. Can you go into that a little bit?
Well, how long do I have? Because I could talk about that for a while. So yeah, the appraisal. So we get, pushback from agents sometimes, a lot of misconceptions about the appraisal taking longer, the appraisal not coming in at value, all the appraisal repairs that may be required. So just to address those three items quickly, VA appraisals have scheduled and set timelines that the VA has published. They are slightly different per state, but they're usually 8 to 10 business days. So appraisals are going to come back within that 1.5 to 2 week time frame in almost all cases. And I've seen conventional appraisals take longer over the last couple of years than VA appraisals. So that is not a thing. Also, the fact that they don't come in at value, or the myth that they don't come in at value. The VA itself published a statistic for 2023 that 92% of VA appraisals came in at or above value, versus conventional came in about 80% of the time. So kind of getting that education and those statistics out there to let the industry know that, hey, VA appraisals are not as scary or don't take as long as other loan types even. And then on the property condition, VA does have certain items that they want fixed. They basically want the house to be in good shape from a health and safety standpoint, because they don't want a veteran moving into a home that has a ton of health and safety issues. So we could talk about that for a long time, but my best practice on that is get a good real estate agent, get a good lender, and have the conversations with your agent and with the listing agent as you're making offers about what things might come up on the home, and set everyone's expectations correctly and mitigate those issues before they become problems.
One of the things that I also really enjoyed was the fact that the Veterans Administration wants the veteran to get the property.
Yes.
Right. If as long as it's safe for them, they're willing to go out of their way to try and make that happen. Can you talk a little bit about that, especially in light of condos and the comparison between the VA loan and the FHA loan?
Yeah, absolutely. So to hit the condos, VA condos do have to go through a similar approval process to FHA, but also the documents that we need for condos is very similar to what you need on a conventional loan. So again, this is working with your team ahead of time as you're looking at properties and as you're making offers to do the research ahead of time. So part of my process, I'll talk to the HOA. If the HOA on a condo is not already approved, we can get it approved. And it doesn't really take too long. And we know kind of the questions to ask ahead of time. One of the biggest issues with condos these days is insurance, because the insurance world is changing. Sometimes we ask HOAs to change their deductible, and they have to be willing to do that. And again, that's on all loan types, not just VA. And then the approval process can get waivers. So not to dive too deep, but if the HOA as a whole on a condo is declined and not accepted for VA, depending on the reason why, the veteran can work with the lender to actually request a waiver for that item and still be able to close on that home. And so many people don't know that's even an option. And that's very different from the FHA process for condos. FHA does not have that type of flexibility like VA does. So don't FHA my VA, as we like to say.
There you go. And that's, again, that goes back to the idea of having somebody that really understands the process. And I will say that, again, I went through the program, I listen, I learn, but there's so much more that the leadership at the Veteran Mortgage Advisors know and are willing to share with membership. So talk a little bit to the loan officers that are listening today about why maybe they should go and get certified with the veteran mortgage advisors.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we do have an online course. It's about 8 hours of videos, and then there's a certification that you get, which is great and very important. But we offer a lot of ongoing support, and we've really built a community, which is one of those things it's kind of hard to explain until you've been in it. But I have seen this community that we've built for loan officers take people from not having any clue about VA, not knowing entitlement calculations, even some of that basic stuff, to really becoming known in their markets as the VA specialist and kind of the go-to person for VA. So it's the ongoing support and training that we provide. We have weekly coaching calls, kind of almost, I'd say 24/7 guideline support help. We have an amazing Facebook community. We have live events once a year, and we're also rolling out our Veteran Housing Advisor program, which mirrors the mortgage advisor program, but it's for real estate agents. So it really gives you an opportunity to pair with your real estate agents, make those relationships really sticky, have a nationwide referral network for each other, for other lenders and for realtors, and make sure when you're referring business back and forth, whether it's from a realtor to a lender or vice versa, that it's somebody who knows VA and that knows VA is going to take care of your service members and veterans better. It's a pretty amazing program.
It is an amazing program, but I am going to throw one little extra to what you said. So, and I've shared this on our programs before. When my son was playing football, I took him on a recruiting trip or a scouting trip to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And we were sitting there with the football coach, and he made the comment that if you're watching film, they still called it film, even though it's video. You know, if you watch it one time, it's good entertainment. If you watch it 2 times, okay, you might get something out of it. 3, 4, 5, 6 times, that's when you're really learning. And I would say that even with the 8 hours of great information that you just mentioned, a loan officer needs to go through all those videos, 3, 4, 5 times, because there's no way that we can assimilate all of that information, because there is some really, really great stuff there. And you guys have done an amazing job of putting that out, keeping it current. And I don't get to jump on the extra calls all the time, but it's just an amazing group of people out there willing to help. And it's, they say loan officer, that they're competitors. As we're doing today, you and I are doing a broadcast today to try and educate people. And we're not competitors. We both do loans, but we have the same mission. So we're on the same team.
We're on the same team. And we have I have many other veteran mortgage advisors in my markets. And I can't do every loan in the states that I'm in, and I would have to sleep sometime, right? So educating the community, having that abundance mindset, and really helping each other out. Every time I have a CE class on VA or a class that realtors attend, I always invite other local lenders, because we all need to learn and get better.
And we're looking for the same thing. We're looking to, the bottom line is obviously we want to do business, but the overarching mission is to try and help those veterans get the homes and get these services that they so richly deserve and have earned. And I really appreciate you coming on, Lauryn, and helping us out. And hopefully you'll come back, because I know we didn't get to 3/4 of the things we wanted to talk about. But I really appreciate you coming on. And as always, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean, who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.
Paid by the hour and older by the minute. My boss just pushed me over the